Wow, Guinevere. What a terrible fate. Shame I still couldn't care less about you though. Help, what's ratio plus, please! What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do mean to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact, here we are for a breakdown and review of chapter 218 of Four Knights of the which is known as Marriage Red. And this chapter, definitely, like, it's funny, right? Part of me wants to sit here and be like, this chapter, like, not really much happens in it. Because, like, not really much happens in it. But this is a major plot point, right? Or, like this whole thing is one of the few things we actually concretely know about the future in Four Knights. Like, notably, we have a few predictions about the future currently just standing and floating in the air. The most recent one we got was from Bartra himself, right? Which Lancelot read his mind from, I think it was back in, like, 206, where apparently the knights are going to travel to a foreign land and run into opposition that may actually be comp for them. Because clearly Camelot and its knights aren't comp. But they're going to run into some strange knights. That is the most recent thing that we got from Bartra. Then, of course, the one reason I say this is actually a major important plot point is because this interaction that happens at the end of the chapter and is sort of built to throughout the chapter is one of the moments that Guinevere mentioned that she would meet Lance. Because notably, at least from the whole stable timeline that's happened that was slightly disrupted thanks to the event of Walnock, so seemingly now, especially with context, I think it's two. We've gotten two cases of Guinevere giving Arthur prophecy hints, I believe, all the time I dome. The first one was the Walnock situation where he sent Macduff and Teniac, and then Teniac and Macduff both perished. When before they didn't, they just escaped. And then the Demon World arc, I believe that was given to them by Gwen. Then that ended up changing, that led to Percy leaving for 2 years. So I think technically did throw off the timeline, but clearly this event, which still happens when Guinevere's 14 and Lancelot's 18 by, like, main timeline, like, technically he's biologically he skipped 3 years, so I think he's biologically like 15, which actually does make their whole dynamic a little bit closer. Like, I think he's chronologically, from his own, like, time passing perspective, I believe Lancelot's 15, because, like, it was barely over 100 days in the world beyond, and then it was 3 years in the actual main timeline. So wrapping that back around, I think Lance is technically biologically 15, but chronologically 18, just because of time passage. Or no, I think he's biologically 18 and chronologically 15. I think that's how that works. Like, mentally he's only experienced about 15 years of life, but biologically he's actually an 18-year-old. And that matches to the time where Guinevere said, I'll meet you here at age 12. And then I think she said 12 while you're 15. Am I thinking this right? 12 while you're 16. They were going to meet again when you're 18 and I'm 14, I think she said. And then there's another time at 23, and Lance is going to be Brain? Quick mass! This is a complicated Brain! It's 3 years! Brain, why am I fighting so? It's 4 years. Brain, dumb. 27, right? And then there's one in between. I think the last one that comes to mind is like 71, but I think there's one in between that. It's why a lot of people think there are going to be like 4 or more parts to Four Knights, because, you know, we have these instances where Guinevere and Lance meet up. But clearly, by the nature of that structure, they don't ever, like, get to spend extensive time with each other. And that technically does fit in with the original Arthurian canon, where Lancelot and Guinevere, they, like, meet in secret, because, you know, they're not really supposed to be doing that. So that technically does fit. And this also does confirm, right, that ultimately, even though the timeline in minor, well, you know, whole lives aren't minor, but, like, even though the timeline in minor ways is changing, right? Like, Jade wasn't supposed to die in the original timeline. Teniac and Macduff weren't supposed to die in the original time. Like, no one was supposed to die at Walnock, but 3 people did. Both 2 on Arthur's side, 1 on Brain, 1 on Leonis' side. And that did actually end up leading to conflict that ended up with the whole Tantra situation in Onfwen. It's clear that fate itself is still, like, pushing certain macro events together, just by the nature of this chapter and how it goes. What do you think is important to establish, right? Because obviously, kind of like how original Seven-Deadly was a story of fighting and breaking destiny in certain ways, like the destiny of the Goddess Clan, the Demon Clan, the Holy War, and stuff like that, and rebelling against the gods. Like, that was a big part of Seven-Deadly, the prequel to this. Now, in Four Knights, it's clear that breaking fate, or, like, working against it, is also a big theme. What I do like about that in particular is that where before it was just our protagonist sort of going against the idea of breaking destiny, breaking fate. Now we have our antagonist trying to do the same thing through Guinevere. They both have their own different ways of seeing the future. Guinevere for Carthur and Camelot, and we have, however long we have them for, Bartra for the hero side. So I do like that. We're using the future, trying to change the future, or at least meet it in certain ways, shapes, and forms. I do like that. And it is interesting, the idea that fate is still locked into the point that the events of this chapter can still happen as they were predicted by Guinevere back when she was younger. So even though the future is changing and ever evolving, there are certain points in time that are locked. Which is going to be interesting to see how that fits into the whole overarching theme of fate, right? Like, if this was 1 year off, then Guinevere would have to have whole new vision and stuff like that. But the fact that this is still time-locked is an interesting feature. Let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into chapter 218, Marriage Red. Oh, also, Guinevere is holding a Sin doll. Very, very cute. You know, the whole idea of her liking Lancelot, her having a Sin doll. I wonder if this is, like, real. I wonder if she actually does have one, and, like, just Carthur doesn't know what it means. Because I don't think... I mean, he probably saw through, like, Orlandi the whole Sin thing. Because I believe Lance used it in the Leonis arc. So maybe, like, he has some loose idea. But he may have no idea that Sin is actually, you know, meant to be Lancelot. And all that entails. And then this also does sort of foreshadow a very funny moment at the end of the chapter. Where Carthur says something that he absolutely could not back up. Which is really, really unfortunate. Because he's currently our main antagonist. But, actually, up into the chapter itself, we see Camelot. Or at least a piece of Camelot. Now, I don't think this is the main dimension, right? Like, I don't think this is the place where Arthur's own castle resides. But with that being the case, we are actually seeing civilians. And the civilians are actually kind of tweaking and geeking a little bit as they say, tomorrow's the big day, and what a day it'll be. And I didn't realize, it's just hitting me now that, like, we see two separate days in this chapter. But, and what a day it'll be. And one of the women says, of course, it's the king who created this country, wedding the queen who can see the future. Oh my toes are curling just at the thought of... I'm just noticing the Rubik's Cube. There's another thing later on in the chapter. I'm like, Nakaba, why did you draw that? I'm now just noticing the Rubik's Cube landmass in the sky. Nakaba, why are you like... Hold on, wait. Nakaba, why are you like... Do you see this? Why is there a Rubik's Cube in the sky? But it is very interesting that they are referring to this place as a country, right? And it does make me wonder, how much does the average Camelot citizen know about, like, the structure of their world? Because they know a couple things, right? Like, the idea that they know that Guinevere can see the future was presumably, you know, like, propaganda spread about, or, like, just, not even propaganda, because she can, but it was information spread about to give the people of Camelot hope, and we know that, like, hope and wishes are what power Camelot, for some weird reason. That's still not explained. That's the thing, right? Like, I was thinking about it more and more, just in the general sense of, like, how long is Four Knights gonna be? I think it has to be super duper long, because we still basically know nothing. Right? Isn't it crazy? Like, we are over the halfway mark of Seven Deadly Sins. And don't get me wrong, there definitely were still big revelations that were unveiled after 218. I'm trying to think. 218 is post the Droll and Gloxania flashback, but I think pre-Meliodas versus Escanor. Right? I think. So I think maybe this was around the time we got the reveal of the gods, and, like, Elizabeth getting her memories back and stuff like that. Because I know post Meliodas versus Escanor, Meliodas goes evil, right? Because so, like, we made, and of course, you know, Chaos was a reveal that happened right at the end, even if it was arguably foreshadowed through bits and pieces. But, like, I'm trying to think logistically, right? We still know barely anything about Percy. We still know, like we know a lot about Percy, but we don't really know much about Life Spirit, which obviously, considering your main character's Life Spirit, that's a big thing. Tristan is still at, like, nowhere near his potential. Like, he just started training with Mel. We see Lance still, like, at least throughout this chapter, he doesn't show any sort of weaponry. So he still doesn't even have a sacred treasure of his own just yet. And he just got Zero Sign. We still don't, like, we now know Gawain is just some weird life spell creation homunculus thing. But, like, still the context behind that. Or no, not necessarily the context behind that. But the main thing that gets me is the context behind the titles of the knights, right? Like, we can assume that Lancelot, who, if you didn't know, this is Lancelot. We can assume that Lancelot gains the moniker Knight of War because, you know, he's sort of been the guy waging a single-handed war against Camelot that Arthur can't deal with, right? Like, or Carthur can't deal with. So his title makes sense. We know why Percy's the Knight of Death because, you know, he's a life spirit. He controls life and death. I get that. But I am genuinely wondering, for characters like Tristan, how are they going to gain the title of Pestilence, right? we know that in original Seven-Deadly-Sins, just being around a strong enough darkness user can like actually weaken relatively powerful beings. Like a defeated AML post the Escanor battle was releasing so much miasma just naturally by existing there and healing and recovering. That it was like actually weakening King and Diane, who were post the flashback arc. And Diane could arguably still be danced up, I do believe, after that event. So, like, them being feeling off and weak and sick and could mean the same thing for Tristan, like him accidentally becoming Pestilence in that way. I always thought he was going to become Pestilence by accidentally, like, destroying the kingdom. Like, if you can literally go back into the annals of the channel and be like, oh, I was to make a video about that. It's one of my favorite drawings I ever did for the channel, too. Where I talked about Tristan becoming the Pestilence by, like, accidentally destroying everything. But I'm wondering, now that we know that those titles are only applied to Camelot, like, what could that be like? What could that mean? And then Gawain the Famine as well. I'm assuming she's gonna like burn all the water and the crops and stuff like that using Dawn, but still, I don't know. I feel like so much has happened, yet we know so little. Our characters are so much stronger, but they haven't even tapped into a fraction of their potential. We just got this confirmed with Gawain and her spellcasting capability, and with Merlin, and we know that Percy still seemingly has a long way to go in terms of developing his abilities, despite, I don't know, like funnily enough, unlike the other three, or really it's the other two, because we don't know Lance's ceiling now. Like, realistically, he has infinite magic just stored inside of him, and he just had cracked potential already. He was going to surpass Nemesis automatically, even without absorbing the Lady of the Lake. So he has super cracked potential. But, like, Tristan and Gawain, nowhere near their full potential. We know so little, and this is just so weird, considering where we are narratively. But I think that is a good thing. And all this to loop back around and say that I'm very interested to see how the people of Camelot will react to the Knights once they actually become a more, like, active thing. Because it's clear that Carthur does give them information of certain things. The idea that Guinevere can see the future. And I do wonder, like, how much delusion will they live in? How much mania will they accept? Because, like, looking at their world, the idea that they still think of this as a country, even though the very world itself functions so weirdly, like, I'm very interested to see how all this will go down and how all this will break down as the Knights become more and more active once they get stronger and stronger. But, with it being the case, we see, long live King Arthur! Long live Queen Guinevere! Long live the happiness that we all enjoy! Which, man, it's rough. But, with it being the case, we see this certain gentleman walk up, who's clearly Lance, and, check out the live reaction over on Patreon for those 1 month. Remember, for those leaders, about to see who I thought it was. I didn't think it was Lance. But, with it being the case, we see this gentleman come and say, hello, excuse me, everyone. And they go, huh? Who are you? And then the guy literally asks, you are? Like, I ain't never seen you before. And this gentleman says, I bring a message from King Arthur. His Majesty, delighted by his upcoming marriage, has a gift for everyone. This just hit me. Are these the people of Camelot? These may be the people of Camelot now that it's hit. But then again, no, because a certain character shows up later, which makes you think that would it be the people of Camelot? But, like, I'm wondering why he's giving these talismans to them as well. Because he does give the talismans out to the people of Camelot, ironically enough, in a bit. But he says, I bring a message from King Arthur. His Majesty, delighted by his upcoming marriage, has a gift for everyone. Take these. They are valuable amulets designed to protect the people of Camelot. I do wonder what they actually do, though. Like, I'm assuming these may act as, like, a linking point for Thetis. Maybe she can, like, track where everyone is and then pull them to the portal to get them out of Camelot. Oh, no, that was I just realized the link back point I meant. See, this is what happens when I go on tangents. I completely forgot. Why does Camelot run on wishing power? Why does it do that? Like, the eating thing, the eating pieces of Leonis and possibly, like, the actual Seven-Deadlysins bonus play. I get that. That's because we know that it's Cath now. Cath just likes to eat things. So, like, I get that. But so far, while that's been contextualized by Cath being Cath, we still have no real reason for why Camelot runs on wishes. Why does it need people? Like, and that's just, it hasn't been retconned yet. Or, like, explained to be, like, a lie or deception or delusion. Like, no, Camelot does run on the wishes of people. Why? Is it really because Cath only has, like, 90% of Arthur and not the, or 90% of Cass and not the full 100%? Like, why, like, so far, there's never really been a thing where it's confirmed that, like, the demon realm needs to be maintained by the wishes of demons. The celestial realm doesn't need that. The fairy realm doesn't need that. And, like, clearly, all the respective deities are still likely weaker than Carthur. So, like, why on earth do they not need that? But Camelot doesn't? Like, oh no. Like, in fact, Carthur Lee confirms the last chapter, right? It's the trashy wishes and stuff like that. Like, was that meant to imply that it's not actually powered by wishes? He just, like, he wants them to have trashy wishes, so, like, the look of despair on their face could be all the work. Like, I don't know, man. It feels very weird that, like, Camelot's around a wishing power. And that's why, another thing, I mean, like, we barely know anything about this world. It's like, how much we know. We know barely nothing. Or barely anything. But, with it being the case, we see these individuals ask absolutely no questions. Because they're like, oh, we're in Camelot, everything's great. And they say, oh, what a blessing. And Lance, who's, now I think that, took a really tall form, just like his daddy, says, we recommend you keep them warned at all times. Which makes me believe that they are definitely like trackers or teleporters of some sort. But with it being the case, we see that the gentleman doesn't just walk around here in the open town, which maybe the citizen of Camelot, he goes lower into a dungeon of sorts. And we see certain individuals talk a certain talk. And now I get where Guinevere gets it from. As they say, what do you want with prisoners like us? Go away! We want nothing from the lackeys of Camelot. Except maybe food and water. These fires are kind of hot. Please help. But we see that, I'm just keep calling him Lance. He doesn't actually get a name. This false disguise. Lance says, I'm neither a holy knight nor an envoy from King Arthur. This amulet is for protecting our beloved Princess Guinevere. Now that is interesting. That is interesting that he says that. And very specifically, now knowing that they know that, like the common populace knows that Guinevere can see the future, I wonder why the parents, because these are obviously the king and queen of Camelot, and they are Guinevere's parents, and they say, and they look shocked, and like, oh, who are you then? You know about our daughter? Everyone knows about your daughter. It's like how long have they been locked down here not knowing that their daughter's been a known commodity? Like, that's actually kind of, it's very interesting. There's some things that this chapter does implication-wise that are like, not like bad, just weird. And when I'm looking at them like, but why though? That times I was reading this chapter, I was like, but why though? This is one of them. Like, what do you mean you know about our daughter? Everyone knows about your daughter. But at the same time, obviously, this is extra because this is meant to key us into this being Lance, not actually, being some random guy and some lackey of Camelot. This is Lancelot himself, who definitely does know about Guinevere. And I still will not forgive Lance for not at all thinking, like, I know he was a child. Like, mentally, he's probably, like I mentioned, in part 1, he's probably, like, mentally 13, right? Like, he still barely had any time to actually do anything or develop properly. But the fact that he just left Guinevere alone, knowing that she'd be a high-risk hostage, why would you not just go take her? Why would you not protect her back then? You were literally in Leona's dog. What was Arthur going to do? Run your fate? He couldn't. It was human Ironside, bro. You would have been fried. I mean, that's also half Gwen's fault. Why didn't she try to change the future? I know, but bad things. Bad things might let Big Toe, dog. She could have done so much better. But with it being the case, we see that Lance seems to nod, and we cut away. We cut away to maybe the same town, I'm assuming the same town, within the Eternal Kingdom. And speaking of weird things in the sky, why? What you see, we all see that. Why is it like with Nakaba? Why are you like this? What is this? Why are their faces just eating faces? Why do we have Uzumaki in the sky, bro? Kenjaku, how many cursed spirits did you put up in there, dog? Why are there so many? And it's just like ew. And people think this is like, imagine looking up into the sky and seeing that. I mean, like, yeah, life is good. Life is perfect. I'd be afraid, like, the Moody Majora's Mask already unnerves me, just from the fact that there's a big old face on the moon that's going to fall out of the sky. I can't imagine if I saw multiple faces all devouring each other, and then just, that's in the sky. I'd be horrified. But, gotta be delusional. And I think that is very important, right? The main thing about Camelot is that in order to just exist there, and I do think that Nakama is reinforcing this purposely, you have to be a bit delusional. Because we see that certain people are commenting on the day of the marriage, right? In fact, I believe these are meant to be the newlyweds flying down. As people say, the queen is still 14, yes? So young, I'm jealous. I hope they mean that in the sense of still being young and not like marrying children. That's weird. That's weird. Please. But Nakama's weird. Nakama's weird. Oh, Nakama, why? But with it being the case, we see that a person says, it's thanks to the king that I can remain with you after your death. I know I've asked it before, but we're going to ask it again. Would y'all be able to stomach Camelot? Like I'm not going to force you in there and be like, if you don't stomach it, you're going on for it. Like, I'm not going to do that to you. But what I am asking, could you lean and rock with that? I don't know. Maybe this is me like standing on false business or something. But I could not fathom like existing, knowing that I'm living within an illusion. Especially since I'm not immortal, since I'm still aging. Like, like, and I do have, like, I have an example, or at least I think I have an example of who would pop up, right? If I went to Camelot right now, I think I have a general idea of who would appear. I don't know. It's and notably, I think it's maybe because I've seen that person in my dreams after their passing. And I've sat there and like it's literally snapped me out of the fact, like, it's put me into a darn near lucid dreaming state where I'm like, yeah, go on. I'm happy I can still like remember and manifest their voice without looking at old videos of them. Don't get me wrong, but like, I've aged. I've changed. Time has moved forward. I couldn't like, and the fact that they know, right? It's the whole idea of like how much they know and how much absurdity they accepted this. But like, I couldn't, no matter like, but I don't know, man. Maybe I would break, but like, knowing that yes, the real person that I knew and loved is gone. They've died. But I'll just live with you. Like, I don't know. I feel like that'd be desecrating their memory, man. I don't think I could do it. If I were put in Camelot, like, I'd see the illusion and I'd like go straight to Onwin, dog. Like, I think I'd be fried. But speaking of being fried, what is Cats doing here? Do you remember Cats? Cats is, oh, hold on. In case you don't, because this hit me. We're going back in time for a minute, and I want to know your name. I think it's chapter 2. Here he is. What is that man doing here? You remember this guy? Remember Cats? Cats, Ringmaster and Flamecaster. Take these scraps of parchment. Behold, rain of fire, blink of an eye. What is he doing here? Like, was he kidnapped? I forget. I believe he's from the same village as Pelio, and we know that Pelio's village got kidnapped. Like, did he go back home? Remember, he was a traveling like performer. Last we saw him was like in an extra where he and Elva were concerned about Donnie and like how he was doing. That's the last time we saw either of these two. It was like either an end of chapter thing or like a volume extra. But now Cats exclusively, mind you, because I don't see Elva here. I don't see her throughout the rest of the chapter. He's just here now. I don't think he's in a. I think it's the real Cat. Like, what happened, man? What did you go back home and then get slurped up with the rest of the village? Like, that's real unfortunate, dog. Like, he was a cool guy, and it's so quick and fast. Like, if you aren't paying attention, you won't see it, and you may not even remember Cats at all. But like, I don't know, man. I feel bad for Cats. He got more of an emotional reaction out of me than Guinevere ever could. I'm kidding. I'm being way too mean. But with it being the case, we see the people celebrating, and they say something very, very interesting, right? The idea of the delusions and the wishes and the impossibility of it all. With our queen, this kingdom is guaranteed peace for all time, I bet. I can't wait to see the couple once again. Peace for all time. The eternal kingdom. The eternal king. All of these things are, in many ways, if not flat out impossible, not flat out impossible. Like they're not like feasible. But I think that's the thing. Camelot, it lives off that delusion. And I'm not saying it's impossible or wrong for humans to be delusional. Hi. I'm delusional. I think I'm going to end up with a muscular muscle mommy before the end of my days. I'm delusional. Don't get me wrong. But, like, it is crazy to think that they think of that. Knowing the queen will age. Knowing that her ability to see the future will not last forever. Right? Like I don't know. And don't get me wrong. I do believe, like, you can't fully think about more. Like, you can think about it. You can have your existential crisis. You gotta move on. You gotta move. Like, you can't fully lock in and be like, one day, one moment, 1 second, I could just die. Like mortality is like a crazy thing to think about, right? Like, especially now, and I'm not even, because I have the context of like people I know who are nowhere near what would be the end of the average lifespan at all, passing away. But like, if you like, is it, man, your mind's a dangerous thing. You're not meant to go down the mortality rabbit hole. But like, at the same time, I think it's important to also like live to some degree in reality. Like, you can't go down the mortality rabbit hole, but at the same time, like, at least for right now, eternity just isn't real. And even in their universe, eternity is not real. Like, you know, the gods can actually live forever in chaos. Like eternity is real. Like, they don't have the full context of that. So it's interesting that they buy so hard into it. But I suppose that's all they can do, right? It's the idea of once you've Once you've started, you just can't stop, and they can't stop. But with it being the case, we see that the couple comes flying by. There they are! Ah! They look so jacked and juicy! The horses, I mean. And they say, King Arthur! How beautiful! It's Queen Guinevere! And we see, I'll admit, a bit of Congo, a bit of Orphan. It isn't even like typical Pegasus. Yo, man. It just hit me. Where's Sylvan? Where's Sylvan, dog? It's crazy. Like, if you go back in time, I'd be like, man, I don't care about Sylvan. But, like, man, where's Sylvan, bro? I literally was about to say, these aren't even, like, Pegasi or anything with wings. No, these are flying horses, or, like, horses that can walk on air. But it just hit me, like, Sylvan showed up at the start of part 2? Went to the demon world. Start of part 2, because he was the Pegasus for Anne. Then he kind of just disappeared. I don't know. It's weird. Like he hasn't shown up in like 50. Like I don't want to say Nakama just forgot, but maybe Nakama's just like, alright, sorry, story's too serious now. We can't have Sylvan, the joke character, running around. But like, I actually kind of miss Sylvan, bro. I think it really is that like, not Stockholm is the wrong term for it, but like, absence made the heart grow fonder. Like, if you asked me what I thought about Hawk while Hawk was appearing every other chapter, I'd be like, man, I don't care about Hawk. But like, just in the same way that I kind of miss Hawk, I do actually kind of miss Sylvan, bro. Like, where is he? Did they put him down? Like, what happened? And he was sent to Egypt. Like, what happened? But with it being the case, we see Arthur say, I'm delighted to hear you celebrate us. Congratulations, King Arthur. The 4 evils are with him. Can you imagine? Can you imagine, like, your governing body having a force called the 10 evil people? The 10 bad men? Like, how are you so cool with that, dog? Like, the 4 evil. Like, why are they called that by common people? Like, it'd be one thing if, like, you know, the 4 evils was the internal code name, right? Like, okay, like, they're called the 4 evils. Like, send in the 4 evils. Roger that. No. That is their group name, and that's what they're called. I know the 7 were the 7 deadly sins, right? But, like, they were still notorious rebranded criminals, right? Like, they were actually, supposedly, according to what they were even doing knighthood for, they were bad people. That was the whole point. So, like, them being all the 7 sins in Order of Knights, that's fine. They were kind of known to be bad boys. Boys? Why did I say it like that? But bad boys. But, like, the 4 evils aren't that. Pelgard, hold on, in fact, let me point out. Ironside, Beltreep, Worldane, Pelgard, like, they aren't meant to be bad people. Why are they literally called the 4 evils? Everyone's cool with that. But speaking of the different beasts, I do like the horses' designs. I like that Arthur's horse is bigger. It has this more complicated, multi-layered mask, pointing out the multiple layers of Arthur. And then Guinevere's horse is also smaller. Has the I'm not sure what the symbolism behind this mask could be, but it's just, you know, smaller, with the same sort of design as Arthur's, except these, like, fins, quote-unquote, are going down. You know, all these fins are flanking out from behind the ears. Very, very nice. Very, very cool design. And then this is just a really good panel as well. I like the different mounts for the 4 evils as well. Nakama didn't have to give them all different mounts. They could have all been riding horses. But he goes out of his way to give Ironside this, like, weird, almost prototypical dragon with, like, no wings, but it's still, like, flying. He gives Worldane this very interesting beast here. It's like a weird dog pig thing with big muscular legs / arms. I don't know, it's very interesting. Once again, you have Beltreep riding what seems to be like a Shenron-esque dragon in the same way. Like, this is, I say more prototypical dragon, like it's like a wingless wyvern, or not really wingless wyvern, it's like a worm, not like a worm. I'm thinking of Hollow Knight. It's a type of dragon, right? This is English. I'm so good at it. And then this seems more like a Shenlong or Shenron kind of dragon with the whiskers and the long, scaly body. And then you have Pelgard riding what seems to be like, what did Snoutlout ride in How to Train Your Dragon? Like, it seems like I forget, I'm not gonna look it up, but like, with that, if you remember How to Train Your Dragon, Snoutlout, the large character, like, he also rode a dragon like this, except it was more condensed, meanwhile this one stretched out a little bit. So I do like that Nakama went out of his way to give them all unique mounts. It's a very, very cool shot, very, very beautiful panel by Nakama. And the next panel is very, very good as well. Oh wait, actually, before I get to that, Arthur says, I'm delighted to hear you celebrate all of us. I swear that my wife and I will devote every fiber of ourselves to this kingdom. And we see people say, glory to Camelot, glory to King Arthur, I want to suck his toes. And like, once again, knowing that all of this is Carthur playing the long game, man, is he committed to the... Like he has not slipped once. Like, I genuinely do wonder. Does anyone, like, other than Guinevere, who's, like, seen the future, does anyone else know that Carthur is, and obviously, you know, the four evils before they got four eviled all over again. But does anyone actually know that it's Carthur? Other than, like, Merlin, obviously. Like, Merlin knows, and Arthur himself know. But, like, does Meliodas know, like, off the encounter with Carthur, does he know that that's Carthur? I don't think so. I think he thinks that's legitimately Arthur. That's why he's so focused on saving him. I don't think now Gother may know, kind of, sort of. He may be able to infer. But, like, I feel like in Arthur, Cat's done such a good job of RPing Arthur that I genuinely I would not be surprised if no one knows. Because he is committing so heavily to the bit. And it's why I do believe, right? It is more complicated than just Cath RPing. He's not just role-playing really, really well. I do think he has been genuinely affected and broken a bit by the human desires of Arthur. And I think even the passion and interest and desire in humans from Chaos. Obviously, he absorbed a majority of Chaos way more than he did in the original series. And he was fused with Arthur for a bit before having to be separated. So, like, it's clear that he's been infected. And I do like that angle. I hope it's more fleshed out, though. Like, this is, like, honestly, the whole infected angle that he's been manipulated is, like, me coping for inconsistent character writing. But it's a logical cope, so I'm hoping the cope is correct. But, with it being the case, we see that Carthur swings his arm up, and it's like, I ask all of you to bear witness to our deeds. And may Camelot be blessed with eternal prosperity and tranquility. Which is interesting, like, how would, like, 3 generations from now, how would Camelot look? What is Arthur's endgame? Because ultimately, Guinevere is still aging. She will die, right? So, like, clearly she's not eternal. Obviously, Camelot itself can't be eternal. Well, it could if he willed it. I'm guessing, based on how Chaos works. But, like, I don't know, man. I do wonder, what is the timeline in Cath's head? Like, when is he going to be like, I'm going to devour everything and eat all these trashy... Like, when does he plan to do that? When does he plan to take the mask off and just go buku bonkers? I don't know. It's very vague. Because he keeps talking about eternal prosperity and tranquility when people are still aging and will presumably eventually die. And I highly doubt you can pipe down the illusions. So, like, I don't know. It's a weird thing. But, with it being the case, we see people say, we hardly deserve such words, my lord. Oh, you're so thick and meaty. And we see people say, Queen Guinevere, aren't you 14? Is it really okay for you to be marrying that 34-year-old man? No one says that. But we see that Arthur says, oh, would you look at that? That's a nice smile there. Even you can make faces like that, huh? Which, there's an I won't go into it just yet. But there's an implication by the conversation they're having here now that makes me genuinely be like, Carthur, how stupid and incompetent and buns are you, bro? How stupid and incompetent and buns are you? But with it being the case, we see that Carthur seems genuinely intrigued. He says, seems to me you've been in a good mood since the morning, too. Have you resolved to accept me as your husband, finally? As we see Pelgard mocking in the background underneath the helmet. And Guinevere says, what a fun joke. If you hadn't taken my loved ones hostage, I might have let you be my servant, at least. And, once again, with the context of Gwen likely knowing the twist, I wonder how much how much is she also RPing? Because we know Gwen's seen her entire life, right? Like, that's one of the main things about the character, right? Oh, you see, like, and that's what makes it bad either way. Like, well, you see, it's just that Guinevere is actually like a 73-year-old woman trapped within the body of a 12-year-old, or now 14-year-old. Okay, then she's being weird to Lance. Oh, well, actually, no, she's a 12-year-old who's just, or now 14-year-old who's just seen visions of the future up to when she's 73. So she's still 14. It was weirder when she was 12 and Lance 16, like, at least to me. But still, like, it's more balanced now, because I guess, I don't know, like, a 14-year-old dating an 18-year-old still is actually kind of weird. Like, I would look at anybody funny if they were doing that, but, like, and it's medieval times, so, like, it's fine, technically, according to the context of the time. But, all that being the case, I wonder if she knows that she's, like, talking to Cath. Probably? Like, she has to know, right? And that's why it makes it so interesting that she's like, you can take my loved ones hostage, I might let you be a servant. Like, does she mean that, like, weight on her hand and foot in Carthur form, or, like, the big, weird, human calf, monster, muscle man, Scrappy-Doo hybrid? I don't know. But, with it being the case, we see Arthur go, now that's the brat I know. which is hilarious. I'm assuming he only broadcasts so much, so people know to hear that. And notably, they still are smiling and laughing, so it probably all looks good to the public. But with it being the case, we see Guinevere's... No, we see the people say, "Queen Guinevere! You see that? She just waved at me! No, me!" All this glaze for a 14-year-old that y'all rarely see. That's kind of wild. That's kind of wild. Hop off tip, and she ain't even got one. But with it being the case, we see that Guinevere says, "Today's truly the worst day of my life. My guts are burning up like magma in a rage against you. Even when we're wed, don't expect me to let you lay a finger on me." And you know what? I respect the gusto. I respect the nerve. I respect the gall. But she's talking mad spooky for someone with no power. And that's why, admittedly, as much as I kind of still don't care about Carthur, I'm more so trying to see the vision, I give credit to his 12 out of 10 top tier rage bait. As she says, "Don't expect me to let you lay a finger on me." And Carthur's like, like as a person with a sibling and many other family members, like, there's a certain type of rage bait that gets you, and this would definitely be one of them. He's just like, he taps her shoulders like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, sorry, I touched you, but it's okay, right? We're a couple." Which is extra weird when you think about how old Cath is. Remember, Cath was sealed in purgatory for a long time. Then he was sealed in the goddess Amber inside of... It's so crazy to think about how long ago Cath was actually set up. Like, he appears in, like, the 100s. Like, early 100s, too. Like, he actually shows up really early. But he was then sealed inside the goddess Amber that was in the possession of the druids. Which makes sense, because apparently he was sealed in purgatory originally by the goddess clan. Then he escaped purgatory. Then he got sealed again. Like, Cath has a weird timeline, but it's actually very, very ancient, because he was around before Chaos was sealed, which we know has to predate even presumably Mel and Elizabeth's births. Like, we don't know how old Elizabeth and Mel were pre-time skip, but, like, Cath is bare minimum 3,000 years old. And this is assuming he didn't spend much significant time in purgatory, which he presumably did, because Cath gets created, he then fights Chaos, loses, causes trouble anyway, fights the Goddess Clan, loses again, gets sealed in purgatory, escapes purgatory, presumably runs into the druids or the goddesses who are still active at the time, and then they seal him in the Goddess Amber, and then Arthur frees him like 3,000 years later. So Cath is super duper old, so it's like very weird that he's like, "Yeah, we're a couple, aren't we? I can touch you, right?" And he's gonna be even freakier later. Once again, remember, this guy's like bare minimum 3,000 years old, though he's probably way older. Probably max, like how, remember how old the Demon King is? Like, Demon King is like over 1 billion years old because of time spent in purgatory. Cath might be even older than that. Though, like, he can't, well, actually, I do think Cath technically is, like, the baby of the family. One, because the lady, like, you know, bullies him. And two, if he fought the Goddess Clan. Oh, well, no, that's the thing, though. It's weird. He has to be older. Like, I'm not sure when Cath is created in the timeline. Is he created before or after the deities? Because he does fight Chaos. But he's, like, not even, he's not noted by his siblings at all. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I think about it. Like, I don't know where Cath falls, like, where Cath's birth and initial fight with Chaos takes place in the timeline. It has to be before Chaos gets sealed, but after the creation of the Supreme Deity and the Demon King, because Cath gets sealed by the Goddess Clan. But we know who like, the Demon King and the Supreme Deity sealed away Chaos in the Moss Husk because they were worried about the Goddess Clan and the Demon Clan going along with Chaos instead of their creators. I don't know, Cath's timeline is weird. But with it being the case, we see that Guinevere says something, talking bad spooky for someone with no power. She says, "Next time you touch me, I'll die." And she says it with such a radiant smile. But with it being the case, we see Arthur say, "Oh, you truly are worthy to, truly, you are a worthy bride to have. I'm sure we'll make a fine husband and wife." Once again, completely disregarding everything she says. Which, I mean, it's fair in Carthur's case, because, like, she has no power here. She has absolutely no leverage. And we see, as Guinevere looks sad in a way, we see Lancelot standing amongst the crowd looking up. And then we cut to the Mogger. Why does this tower have a more solid jawline and beard than me? Like, hold on. The beard is accenting everything, though. Like, and even then, my beard's not as good, my jawline's not as solid. Like, this tower is mogging like crazy. But, with it being the case, we see Guinevere say, "And you coop me up back here again, as usual." And we see Arthur say, "No need to pout like that. This is all devised to protect you." And then we see Guinevere saying, hold on, Guinevere did not almost burp, that was me. But we see Guinevere saying, "More like protect you, I'd say. You and Camelot. Because you're a bum." And unfortunately, Guinevere ain't even wrong. He is a bum. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not actually kidding. Because you're about to see a multi-galactic, possible universal feat pop up. Get ready, get ready. As we see Arthur say, "If I can just eliminate the pesky 7 deadly sins in 4 nights, you'll be free, of course. So will your parents, and so will everyone else in Camelot." This is what makes me wonder if the people at the start of the chapter were actually meant to be residents of Camelot. Because 1, we know that's one of the motivations that keeping Guinevere in line. 2, why would Lance give those talismans to random people, considering he also goes on to give them to the king and queen of Camelot? And 3, Camelot gets mentioned here entirely, right? He says, "You'll be free, of course. So will your parents, and so will everyone else in Camelot." So either he's letting the common people live free in Camelot, or there's like an entire little pocket dimension, or just a jail where he has all the people of Camelot stored. Which is hilarious, but also funny. No, it's just funny to envision. I'm about to say hilarious, but also terrifying. But it is terrifying in the generic sense that they're all sealed away somewhere. But hilarious in the idea that, you know, there's just like one really tightly packed jail cell. Just a whole bunch of people just being like, "Why are we doing this? Why are we here?" But we see Guinevere throws her crown away. Doesn't really care about it. And we see that Arthur says, "So please, Guinevere, we can put a final end to this battle. Can you give me a decisive prediction? Maybe? No need for that scary face." So, this is the weird implication that's kind of like sat here. I'll go into the fraudulence of Arthur in a second. What has he been doing for the past 8 years? Has he really just let Guinevere vibe? Like, why has he not gotten a single other prophecy? The counter argument that I came up to myself, though, so don't worry if you're thinking of this, I already came up to a counter argument for it. I'm assuming he's only asking now because the 4 knights are now reunited and, like, actually a real thing. But, like, we know for a fact he probably would have liked to get rid of Donnie, to get rid of Anne, to get rid of Tristan, get rid of the remainders of the 4 knights that were still, like, attacking in Camelot. It's like, why did he not bother her over the 2-year period? Why is he still begging, like, come on, give me a hint. Give me a whiff of future sight. Please, please, I need it. Please, Guinevere, I need this. Yo, Gwen, I'm watching the stream. Why are you trying not to laugh, bro? But, like, legit, what has she been doing? What has Arthur been doing? Has he really just been flying blind for 2 years, even though he literally went out of his way to get the future sight to have her? Like, I don't get it. But at the same time, I'm going to gaslight myself into assuming it's not Carthur being stupid. I'm going to assume it's Carthur believing that since the 4 knights prophecy was discontinued by the death of Percival, they didn't have to worry about it too much. That fate had already changed enough. But, I don't know. It still is weird. And speaking of weird, she looks a lot like Gawain here. I think the only difference is the longer hair and the forehead. But, with it being the case, we see that Carthur gets freaky. Remember, possibly billion-plus-year-old creature here goes, "Come on, my kid, lighten up for me. Would you like a kid?" This is so weird. Like, I know he looks 16, but like she knows, and we know, even if we didn't know this was a guy. But remember, that man's 34. He's 20. He got 20 years on her in the best case scenario. This guy's actually like billions of years old. And if you remember, in fact, you know what? Hold on. And I get it. He's mocking and teasing her here. But you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to go back in time. Let me see. Where is it? Okay, no, it's after this. No, it's actually well before this. And then she initially arrives in Camelot. Let me see. Okay, so it has to be after this. Hold on. I'm running through the timeline real quick. Where could it be? 80 Fizzly? Probably not 80 Fizzly. Where could it be? 80 Wizzly? Okay. Here we go. I may be close. Hold on. Do I know ball? Did I guess it right? Maybe not. When does she get kidnapped? I'm trying to look for the panel where Carthur said in the past, "I'm not actually interested in like doing anything romantic with you. You're a child, and that's weird." And now he's like, "You want to kiss?" Which is very weird. And he's touching on her and like, dude, if you don't just get these prophecies and keep it pushing, What chapter was it in? How long did it take her to get kidnapped? How long did it take her to get kidnapped? I'm actually really tweaking right now. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, okay, so they meet up. Oh, cool. Oh, so that's actually there. Cool. That's actually good to know. I'll remember that for later. No, I won't. But where is it? There we go. There we go. All right. So is here. No. Okay, it's gonna be soon. It's gonna be soon. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna go fast. Gonna go fast. Gonna go faster. Rolling speed of sound. They try pass this hedge all around. Got ourselves a situation. Stuck in a new location without any destination. It's time for relaxation. Don't think. Just go. Nothing. Wait, this reminded me of something that's also extra weird with the context of Carthur. Wait, are you surprised? Serves you right. Oh, there, you're my bride. Okay. I'm not gonna keep looking for it because this review's already long enough as it is. But y'all, like, what weird obsession? What's the game? Was this part of the roleplay? Like, what is this for? Like, remember the fake Merlin? I completely forgot about that plot line. Remember the fake Merlin? And, like, his weird fascination with it. Like, why was he doing that? Is it like weird like hate love kind of thing? Because like Merlin stole Arthur away from her and like the last bit of Cass away from her. Like I now don't fully get this. Unless this is also just part of the roleplay thing. I don't know. It's very, very weird now I think about it in retrospect. But, wait, hello there, you're to be my bride then. Hold on. I'm so close. I want to find it. That's his Theodora's introduction. No. Not here. There we go. Here it is. Apologize, don't make me laugh, princess. Call me King Arthur. Want to go friendly, just Arthur. The funny lady. No food. Let me Camelot. Honor guests. I'll give you freedom and time you want and make you a bride. You like me? Here we go. There we go. This is it. Sorry, I had to hunt it down. It's chapter 91. Also, you can make me a bride, right? You like them that young, which is also very weird. And then Carthur, because this is Carthur at the time, says it's a name only for our people. You see, a king is a need to act regally. All I really want is your clairvoyance. I have no interest in little brats like you. Now, why are you talking like this? Why are you making it weird? I liked you better when you're like this, Carthur. Why are you making it weird? Speaking of making it weird, man. Crazy to think that Guinevere's Bite Force alone solos all of Demon Slayer, all of Jujutsu Kaisen. It's actually a FFTL plus feat. Because remember, I'm gonna do some glazy here, though it's easily debunkable. Note how he goes, would you like a kiss? And then she bites his finger. And notably, doesn't just bite his finger and do nothing. Bites his finger hard enough to make it bleed, right? And Carthur even looks shocked like this. He's like, huh? Wait, what? Remember how sevendeadlysins characters have, like, passive durability? Like, it's not like a Dragon Ball thing where, you know, if they're not consistently amping their ki, they're, like, human level. No, like, they're always cracked. If you remember, Derriere was, like, in mental shock and despair and anguish and barely there. And in Death Pierce went to swing at her with an actual sword, and the sword broke against her passive, unguarded neck. So, like, passive durability just is a thing in this universe. So the fact that Carthur had his defenses breached by a Guinevere bite, she may actually be Uni Plus. Unironically, that is the skill. I'm lying. I'm kidding. I'm joking. This is just regular base Carthur, who's presumably holding back a lot. Maybe he's lowering his defense, because we don't, like, it's not, I forget if it's a consistent thing. I'm trying to think of the Death Pierce example with Derriere comes to mind. I'm trying to think of other examples of, like, passive durability, where characters don't have to, like, be focused on guarding or blocking stuff, for things to not, like, break. Like, I know we've seen attacks bounce off of other characters before, but notably that's when they're, like, fighting. So I actually don't remember if like, sevendeadlysins is fully, like, a passive durability thing in the duology. But, with it being the case, she does, and we see Guinevere say, you disgust me! I told you to never touch me again! And remember, Guinevere's talking all that spooky talk of like, if you touch me again, I'll die. Well, guess what? She just got touched. Again. Guess who's still alive by the end of this chapter. She ain't stand on nothing! But admittedly, she stands on nothing for good reason, as Arthur says. Oh, yes. You'll die if I do, right? Well, if you want to die, then I won't stop you. But I wouldn't want you to be alone, so I'll kill and bury all your kin on your dead body. And naturally, Guinevere's like, oh no, I've been out-aurored. He's mocking me right now. Even though I just got a multi-feat, I can actually bite. I can actually bite DKT out of existence. I'm sorry. But with him in the case, we see Guinevere immediately go ... exclamation point, and she realizes, yeah, I'm fried. And Arthur's like, hey, come on now. Or Carthur's like, so can you accept reality a little bit more? Cute outfits, beautiful jewelry, delicious food. Anything you want, I can obtain for you. And he starts dancing around there. Like, once again, Carthur, you're weird. You're weird! I know it's likely a mix of Cath and Arthur and Chaos also just being a weirdo. Yo, people get... But I know it's all that weirdness going around. But at the same time, people get... what? I'm sorry, but self-glazed stop. But I know it's all that. But at the same time, King of Rudy, why are you such a weirdo? Why are you so weird? Like... Weird in just a weird way, not even weird in there anyway. But we see he's literally singing to himself as he dances with an empty dress. Remember, multi-million-year-old ancient chaos entity infused with the power of his little creator, dancing with the dress. And we see as he's literally singing to himself, Guinevere says, "What I want is my freedom. Time to spend with those I hold dear, my mother and my father." And that's ellipses, exclamation point. She gasses and she cuts herself off, hits another ellipses. And actually Arthur's like, whoa. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Huh? Ellipses. And he says, your mother, your father, and who comes after that? Who just popped into your mind? And I don't know about y'all. I find it so hilarious that Carthur is even with only having 90% of the chaos, right? And being seemingly weaker than his sister, which is crazy, considering Chaos created his sister, right? Just looking at Carthur's feats alone. Although, admittedly, now I think about it, Carthur's feats could still technically be chalked up to Arthur's feats, because, like, it took a while for Arthur to, like, get completely consumed by Cath. And he made Camelot in between that. But still, regardless, the feats that Carthur performed are at the lowest end of multisolar, but realistically, they're multigalactic, right? Like, they're bare minimum that, because like the distances between stars and like galaxies, like what a starry night sky actually means to us, and like in reality, it's like actually really, really dumb, crazy, and stupid, all that. And he is also a man who has employed people with countless crazy abilities. Like, if you just look at Ironside's kit alone, summoning life spirits of all types, the light beams he has, all that. Beltreat being able to literally cut apart space itself, Whirlwind having infinite magics, wrong phrase, infinite magics under her control, Pelgard, it's kind of basic, actually. Blaze is cool, but, like, it's kind of basic. But then you had, like, Ardbeg, who could, like, manipulate the ages of people, Talisker, who could control the weather, Fittich, who could move at the speed of light. Like, you had all these different characters. And you don't got a single mind reader, gang? Not a single person? You can create literally anything, entire worlds, and you can't create an ability to, like, read her mind or get the prophecies out of her? Like, and nothing? You can't do anything? You have to ask her for things still? Like, Carthur, why are you so bummy? But we see that as he's flexing his bumminess, he says, say, could it be the one you promised to marry back in childhood? One improper thing for a kid like you to do. You can't say a kid like you to do it, then say, you're my wife now, you know? Like, dude. Why are you fessing up to child briding, dog? What? That's weird. Weirdo behavior. We've got him, folks. We got him. Like, just snap the pictures. We got him. Arrest him. But with it being the case, we see that Carthur is in fact the jealous type, as he says, if you have some weird secret lover, I'll find him. And I'll kill him before your eyes, in only the cruelest way. It's Lance. What are you gonna do? Huh? Carthur? What you gonna do? It's Lance, huh? Run his fade right now. Run his fade right now. In fact, how does that scene from the Batman Adam West show go? Oh, if I had you here, Batman, I'd pound you to a pulp. Start pounding, Joker. Like, go ahead. Start ripping and tearing him. In the cruelest way possible, if you really like that. But I don't think you are, Carthur. I think you're a bit of a baby. But with it being the case, you see Guinevere sweat, look down, and Arthur gets nothing. He gets nothing. Once again, this is why I can't take Carthur seriously as a threat, right? Not only did he get bit by, like, a regular human and bleed, crazy anti-feat of doom, but also, he doesn't get a single prophecy out of her. He's like, give me a prophecy. She says, no, I don't want to. Didn't even really say, no, I don't want to. She just denied it. Non-verbally. And he's like, all right, fine, I'll leave. After threatening you and, like, tearing up a dress. He got no prophecy. He's gotten no prophecies for the past 2 years. Clearly, in the time that he's known the Percival's in back, he's got no problem. Like, he's done nothing. Carthur, what was the point of even bringing her here if you're not going to use her or force her to do things for you? You literally have the perfect house situation, and you can't get a single prophecy out of her. Carthur, why are you so buns? Carthur, why are you so buns? Carthur, why are you so buns? Why can I not take you seriously as an antagonist? It's because you're so buns. But, with being the case, he says, anyway, I need to get going. Guinevere, my beloved wife. Note how he's the only one laughing. Everyone else here is mewing. Everyone else is here sitting from rolling into Pelgard. Speaking of, why is Beltree so tall here? Is he flying right now? Why is he aura farming like this? Like, he was not this much taller. He was not this much taller than I'd say. But everyone else here is mogging. Only Carthur finds it funny. You know how sad it is that you have to laugh at your own jokes? Dog, it's sad. It's not even a joke. Well, I mean, like, he is a joke. Carthur's a joke. But still, with it being the case, he goes, have a good night. And we see him flex the chaos eyes, the cat teeth, all that. Like, so, like, I'm glad that Nakaba's playing with Arthur's design a bit more than he's revealed that it's Cath. It's a cool detail. It's a very nice panel. But, with it being the case, he strides on out. He leaves. And literally, before the door can even close, kathunk. Oh, actually, no. The door closing is the kathunk. And then Lance just appears. He's been in the room the entire time, Zero signing it up. And Lance obviously was the guy from before. He has the same bag. And we see him standing there next to Guinevere. Once again, proving the timeline is still mostly intact. And we see that she's switched and is shocked by his appearance. As he says, hey, hold out here just a bit longer. Shh. As she turns in shock to him. And we see in the Great Tower, the Great Mog Tower, because once again, it is mogging me. Even in the distance, I can see its jawline. We see, she says, oh, how mean of you. Sneaking to meet with someone's wife. You're a child! And that's an old, multi-billion-year-old creature. But Guinevere chokes a little bit. And then breaks down as she says, I knew this was going to happen, but I truly wish I could have been your bride, Lancelot. And he takes his massive hand, I didn't realize how big his hand looks to this. I know she's like 14 and he's 18-year-old, so yeah, but then again, I just have a large head, so like even my large head can cover it. But, like, his hand looks huge in this shot. Like, he straight basketball grips her dome to pat her on the head. He doesn't even look at her as she falls into him and starts crying. And yay, cool stuff. But if you couldn't tell by how much I was yapping, all the implications, all the back and forth, the mystery, all that, I actually do really, really like this chapter. I really like this chapter. Like I said, even if I still don't really feel too much or care too much about Guinevere or Carthur right now as characters, I'm seeing the potential of both, right? Guinevere, just as a character, having this, clear, still, determination to fight back in whatever little way she can, ultimately to realize and kind of have to cope with the fact that she can't fight back at all. It is interesting to see, right? The idea that she does have all this leverage, she does have all this power. Kaleidoscope is, presumably the only thing that's allowing Arthur to survive even at all, even though he can barely use it. Seeing her, obviously a much physically weaker character, put Carthur, a much physically stronger character in this position, is cool to see. And even if the feat is hilarious, that she could bite away all of Jujutsu Kaisen, she could bite through infinity. Even with that being the case, it is cool to see her in this position, and it's interesting to put this character, who, if you'll remember, back in pre-time skip, was a lot more brash, a lot more disrespectful to Arthur, a lot more, vibing out and didn't really care too much. Though she did admittedly acquiesce consistently, but she made more fun of him. She was much more, in a way, not even a way, literally was more childish back then. But now, even as she does fight back, even as she tries to keep her vitriol, her malice, her disregard, or hatred for him, as she admits, it's still burning strong in her stomach. She can't do much about it. And I think she's realized now, oh no, I'm fried. Maybe I shouldn't have just went to Camelot. Maybe I should have used my future set abilities to, tell Lance to help protect me and my family and those who I actually care about and risk my kin. She could have played this so much better. So that's why I still kind of don't care for Guinevere. She could have played this better. But, all that being the case, I do like that character conflict. And I do like Carthur, right? As I'm joking when I say I don't care at all for Carthur. I like Carthur, even though he is weird. If possibly, I like Carthur because he's a weirdo, right? He is just a strange guy now. Knowing that it's Cath leads to all these little weird extra interactions. The intense live-action role-playing feels really, really weird. The weird blends and, the physical touch and it's strange. But once again, now knowing that this is Cath makes it more interesting in a way, because it just feeds into my theory that he's been corrupted, right? And seeing that corruption work and bleed its way into Arthur is very, very interesting. Is he still an antagonist I can't take seriously at all? Absolutely. He's still a bum. It looks like if he's getting bleed damage from human bites, he's always going to be a bum, and he will never be able to hold up to any of his word. He can't even force a prophecy out of Guinevere. But hey, a bummy antagonist is still an antagonist, so I'll take what I can get. And a good character is always good, no matter what, even if they are poor as an antagonist. And I think Carthur so far actually is a really interesting character the more and more I think on him. And then, of course, well, I don't like the four evils have been reduced to nothing but, like meat puppets. That's fine. We'll get them eventually. Lance. Let's find the chapter. Once again, seeing him more farm, seeing him use Zero Sign, all that's just really, really cool. Seeing his transformation ability branch out even more and create just whole new people is really, really cool. Him setting up something with these talismans is also interesting, and wondering how that's going to go. So overall, just a really good chapter. Full of setup, full of execution. Well, like I said, this is a firm point in the timeline that we did need to see, so I'm glad that we did see it, and we're now seeing the repercussions of it. We're presumably going to get some more of it next chapter, so overall, just a very, very W chapter. Very, very solid, very, very meaty, very, very juicy. So, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, hold on, let me hit it for the 2 times. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave the red wedding. That's what I thought this chapter was going to be called. Leave the red wedding in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you can have a picture down below, you support me for as low as $1, hit a $1 a month. You things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month and get the same perks and more. So those perks include the 26-minute live reaction to this very chapter, and all previous chapters and all future chapters of 4 Knights of the Apocalypse, ad-free variations of all my videos, early ad-free access to all my videos, not just all my videos over here on the main channel, so all reviews that get done the same day you will get access to immediately ad-free, but also all videos for the second channel, that guy with the reaction, where I post videos every 1 p.m. EST on Saturday. Reaction videos that range from like 45 minutes to an hour or like 2 hours long. So if you want more pencil content, you can head over there. The link will be in the description down below. And on top of that, you get your name listed at the end of every single video. If you are a $3 member or higher, you get your name listed and read aloud at the end of every single video as well. And on top of that, if you want to just drop 5 beans for a short video or 25 beans for a long video for the one time, you can go to that juicy, thick, meaty Ko-Fi in the description down below. And now, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Glacier XZ, Zera, Brandon Payne, J2MA, Yomi, Buddha Ura, Enzo, Swiss Strike, Super Flame Zero, Yuki Ally, Striker Man, Grim, Ollie, The Boy, Corey Watson, Damon Brown, Magic, CCC, Ramondo Furen, Dino, Heath Nelson, Hector Gonzalez, Black Sage, Tim Thomas, Alex Kenny, Kaving, Julian Perez, 8SOA, Akolade Babatunde, Union I, RXN, Nevis97, Sheesh King, Logan Guzman, Karina Hernandez, Window Life, Dead Meme, Karudir, Reina, Christian Carter, Jagoda, Keon Stewart, Donovan McIntosh, Sino King, Hamza Idrisi, DNA, Edwin Igbinoba, Cyan, Straw, Cybersage 12, Athenzi Shear, Antavius Mitchell, Plant Crone, and Azo2404. Then, let's give a thank you to Artline Art Tier patrons: A+A, Kevin Encarnacion, Sean, Dreadzoan, and Norgazi Andasov. Then, let's give a thank you to our Ink Tier members: King RTX and Shrimpo the 4th Shrimp 06. And let's give a thank you to our Digital Art Tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. And let's give a final thank you to our Colored Art Tier patrons: Walkie Munoz and Walkie Munoz.